Thanks, James, for that delightful introduction. Thanks for inviting me. Yeah, what am I going to talk about? That's the question. I had a... I've not actually seen these, by the way.
Yeah,
James asked if I wanted anything in the background. I said, nah, I'll be right. And it turned up, and he says, oh, I've done some for you. So this is a rather blurry image of me in white playing some pretty poor defense against the Japanese team. This was at the World Championships in 2012. You can leave. Okay. So I had a little bit of a think about what I wanted to talk about. And I was actually watching a bit of the Winter Olympics. I don't know if anyone's been paying attention. Can I just get a quick show of hands? Anyone who's been paying attention to the Winter Olympics? Okay, good. What was that? Especially perfect. So my second question was going to be, did anyone pay attention to the curling?
Yeah.
Just 2, 3, 4, half a dozen. Okay, good. Right. Okay, good. And so the reason I wanted to kind of draw attention to the curling is because actually, particularly the men's curling team had a pretty similar kind of tournament at the Winter Olympics that we had a couple of years ago at the World Championships. In that they had some losses initially, and then they came to like the big games, and they seemed to do quite well, and then they got through to the final, and it was really exciting, and then they got absolutely trounced, right? And that's pretty much what happened to us at the World Championships in 2012. I'm going to give you a bit more of a background and kind of lead up to that. So a little bit more about me. I started playing Frisbee, and I don't know how many of you have ever seen or heard of Ultimate Frisbee before. I'm not going to kind of go into the hard sell of it. You can kind of Google it later if you're interested. But I started playing about 12 years ago. Just picked it up at uni. Kind of got obsessed by it. Just kept playing it everywhere I could. I've flown all around the world playing Frisbee. Met loads of amazing people that I never would have had a chance to meet otherwise. Amazing community of people. And about kind of 6 or 7 years into playing, I got a rather surprising email saying that I've been selected to go and play for the Great Britain team, which I wasn't really expecting. It's like, that's pretty cool. So then all of a sudden, things went from just me being quite interested in playing to, oh, actually, no, things have to really step up a notch, and actually there's people looking in at me and really hoping that we do well, rather than kind of, hoping we lose because, I was playing for one team and they're playing for another. So all of a sudden you've got this backing of, a whole country of people, and it's, a really amazing opportunity to go and play a sport that you love, that normally you just play in a field with no one watching, and 25 other pitches around you with people playing Frisbee and no one watching them either. So suddenly you're playing on a pitch and there's a stadium and there's a crowd and things go well and everyone cheers, and things go badly, and it's like, get that collective sigh or groan as something goes wrong. And that kind of got me to what I wanted to talk about, which is doing it when it counts. So for me, this is like the best bit of all sport and all competition, is can you do things when it matters? And for me, I guess that's why I really love penalty shootouts in football, but most people hate them, right? I don't really like golf, but that last round of the Masters, when it comes down to the last few shots, is incredible. It's because that's what I really like, is to see not just can these athletes who devote countless hours of their time and countless amounts of money and dedicate their lives to the pursuit of one particular thing. Yeah, can they do it? Sure, but can they really do it when it counts? And that, I think, is what differentiates the very best from the not so best. Terrible English, but the next tier down. Whether you're the kind of Johnny Wilkinson type player, right, who collects the ball in the dying seconds of a World Cup final and kicks the perfect penalty, the drop goal, and that's it. England are world champions. And to do that at the exact moment when you need to, when all the pressure is on, is very different than just going down to the park and having a kick around. And you know, anyone who's ever watched English football team will, you know, be able to count the number of times that we've lost in penalties, or you know, some other moment like that. Particularly penalties, I think, because it's a pretty simple concept. You know, you put a ball down, there's a big goal in front of you, and they've probably done that 100 times. You know, a week. You know, growing up as a kid. Yet suddenly they're doing it, and they know that if they miss, that's it. England are out, and they can't hit a barn door. And I know, because I've been in that situation, and sometimes I've done well, and sometimes I've done badly. And it's a really difficult situation to have to deal with. So 2007, first time I played for Great Britain. We got to the final of the European Championships. We were playing a really close game with Sweden. It goes to the very last point of the game. Now, typically a squad's about 25 strong. 7 go out on the pitch at any one time for each team. And I was one of those 7 people that went out in the last point. Okay, first year with Great Britain, and I was trusted to go out and play well, because I played well up to that point. But it came to the final, and we actually started on defence. We managed to get the disc, and I threw it away, right? And it was a really, you know, harrowing moment in some respects, because at that moment when we had basically a mistake between the person I was thrown to and me, you know, I thought he was going one way, he wasn't. And so, you know, it's like, it's that moment that defines whether you're the best or you're not the best. Now, fortunately, for me that day, Ultimate is a team game, and we were able to win, and you know, we won the the European Championships. And that was a, you know, phenomenal moment. And if you watch that video back, you'll see, you know, the winning catch go in, and everyone jump up and down. The whole team rush the field and jump around, and I'm just stood down the pitch like, yeah, I don't really feel like I earned. You know, I feel like I messed it up and someone else won it for me, which is kind of a good thing actually, because it, you know, over the next years we built up to go to the World Championships. It just motivated me to go and work harder and be a better player. And a year later we went to the World Championships, and we played Australia in a pool game where they absolutely wiped the floor with us, and it was really kind of a bit of a slap in the face to go from European Championship champions, and we hadn't lost a game in however long it was, and then we suddenly go to the World Championships and you know, a right good beating. Fortunately, we played them again in the quarterfinals. We turned some things around, and we went on to give them a beating. And neither of those games were close, and I think that reflects quite poorly on some of the players' ability to really do it when it mattered, you know, because any time it got a bit close in the middle portion of the game, whoever just happened to be on a run kept that run going. And that happened in the first game, and it happened in the second game. And you see this a lot. I mean, I watch a lot of football, so I'm gonna talk about football again. But you see this a lot with strikers, particularly. They'll get a really good run of form. Every time they touch a ball for, like, you know, 6 weeks, they score a goal. They're in phenomenal form. They're really, really confident. And then all of a sudden something goes wrong for them, and they can't score a goal for love nor money. And you know, Torres playing for Chelsea is a classic example of that. Had some amazing form, had some terrible form, and a lot of it is psychological. And again, it all comes down to that, you know, can you do it when it counts kind of moment. Now, we went on to play the reigning world champions, Canada, in the semi-final. Got absolutely smashed, not even close. And again, despite the fact that, you know, this was the best result we'd ever had as a nation, you know, we made the semi-finals, the World Championships, and I just came away feeling really dejected and thinking, you know, surely we can do a lot better. So about a month later, one of my friends gave me a present, and what he'd done was he'd taken a photo, kind of like this, but much worse than this, of me of me matched up against one of the main players from Canada, and I absolutely hated it. Right, I absolutely hated it because basically the photo is a bit like this one, showing someone else doing something good while I was kind of getting beaten. Right? Thanks, James. You know, and I absolutely hated it. And obviously my friend had given it to me in a kind of really nice, you know, as a present, nice silver frame, and kind of, you know, here you go, here's you matched up against one of the best players in the world, you know, what a great thing to have achieved. And I was just like, I just hated it. So what I did was I took that photo and I put it on my mantelpiece. And I left it there for 2 years, so that every single day I was reminded of my failures. Right? I was reminded constantly that I could have been better. And over that period of time, I got more into coaching. I spent a lot of time developing players, trying to get us to the point where we had a bigger, stronger squad. So maybe next time around, we'd have a chance to really kind of go at these countries and maybe do a lot better than we did last time. So I'll fast forward a few years, and we got through to the World Championships, and you know, pretty long journey to kind of build up a team over that period. Spent a lot of time, not just on throwing and stuff and fitness, and you know, the hours and hours of logistical work, and as a coach spent a lot of time one-to-one with people, calling them up, you know, reassuring them about things, giving people individual training programs, all that kind of stuff. Anything that I could do to gain 1 inch, I was doing it. I was going down to the track, running my workouts, and picturing that guy in that photo beating me, right? And I did that for like 2 years, right? And it sounds really, really weird and really obsessive, but I wanted to get past the place where I'd been before. I knew that I'd been there before and I hadn't succeeded, and I wanted to see whether I could do the extra bit and make sure that I could do it when it counted. So in the middle, we had, as a slight aside, we had an opportunity to go and play at the World Games. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of the World Games, but it's run by the Olympic Committee, so you get to go and like be as close as I'm ever going to be to an Olympic athlete. You go to the big stadium, you know, anyone who's ever seen kind of Olympic opening ceremony or anything like that, you'll see these crazy dancers and amazing firework displays. And there's the bit where the athletes walk around the stadium. Well, I've had the opportunity to do that, and it's one of those once in a lifetime moments, and I'll never forget it. But we were at that tournament, and again you do all the prep, and you have this amazing, wow, there's fireworks, and wow, there's 50,000 people taking my photo, and people running up to me and asking for an autograph who have no idea who I am, but they just know that I'm wearing a Great Britain shirt, and that's really cool. So yeah, sure, give people autographs, and it's a bit weird. And then you go out on the pitch, and you lose, and it's again, you kind of come away from those events thinking, okay, on the one side I got this amazing opportunity and adventure, much like a lot of the athletes must feel having gone to the Winter Olympics, but ultimately they, most of them didn't get medals, and while it's very easy, I guess, for us to say, well, those other countries are just stronger, they're just better than us, I can feel for those athletes who would have worked really hard for 4 years to go to that event and lose, and then go home and go back to being an unfunded athlete who spends 9 to 5 at work, and then evenings and weekends they devote to something else. So spare a thought for those guys, all right, not just the medal winners. Anyway, back to this. We got to the main event. We got to big semi-final. We're playing Sweden again, like a rematch of countless other times we played Sweden, and again, it gets down to the game point. We're actually winning by 1, but if we score the next point, we win. And I'm chosen to be on the pitch. I'm one of those 7 players. And one of my teammates goes down and gets a block, and we're really excited. We've got the chance to win the game, and someone throws me the disc, and I look upfield and I see one of my teammates, and I throw it to him, and I missed him. And you know, right there and then, it was like a bit of me just died, right? You know, I've made the exact same mistake I made, you know, 4 years previously. This time around, again, fortunately I played for a team, you know, a good team, and even though Sweden scored that point, because we were leading by 1, they went out and my teammates scored the next point. And we put that goal in, and we were in the final of the World Championships. And I'm still not entirely sure why, but basically I just burst into tears, you know, in front of all my friends. And cameras, and you know, there's photos of it. Right, and you know, I think half of it was utter relief that that actually we'd made that step, that previously we'd fallen at this point, and we'd overcome that, and now we were in the final instead of the semi-final. And half of it was knowing that when it really came down to it, I personally wasn't able to do what I wanted to do. I couldn't do when it counted. And I think a little bit of that is why I, you know, I felt like at that point, right, I'm never going to achieve what I want to achieve. And it sounds a bit sad, you know, to kind of get to the, you know, to this point in the talk, and everyone's, you know, I'm sure you're all hoping that we went on to win the World Championships, but we didn't. You know, we got absolutely demolished in the final. A very similar story to the curlers, and I guess I've been mulling up how to finish off, but I guess basically just spur of thought for those guys. You know, they've you know, the media said, you know, heroes. They're in the final. They won a silver medal. You know, aren't they? You know, we should really be proud of them, and they're absolutely right. We should be proud of them, but I'm pretty sure that's not how they feel. I'm pretty sure they feel really dejected. The same feeling that I had when we finished the game. And I think if you show the next picture, whoever that is, I think, yeah. So this is the photo just after the final, and this is my good friend Dan. And basically, we spent the whole period I just talked about. We were training together. We're training buddies. We spent a lot of time and energy, and eventually we got to this position where we got to the world final. And I'm really putting on a fake smile there. That is really, I was really unhappy right then. But I knew, that you know, this was a moment I would be proud of later in my life. And what I did when I got home is that photo that I told you about. I took great pleasure in ripping that up, and I replaced it with that photo, and that's now in my bedroom. And that's what I, you know, now when I kind of go to sleep at night, I, you know, sometimes get a bit of a smile, because I think actually we did do something quite good, even if it wasn't quite what I wanted to achieve. Thanks. If anyone has any questions, I'm more than happy to field some, but don't feel. Yeah.
You can ever train to be a clutch player.
Ooh. Okay. So if we define it, so do you mean, when you say clutch, do you mean as in, you know, you can do it when it counts?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I think you can, but you have to make sure. So yeah, you have to make sure, I think, that everything you do is goal orientated. So it doesn't matter the process; it's whether you win or lose that counts. I think if you do that, then yes, you can. My personal strategy as a coach was always the opposite. It was almost like the process is more important, and then when you understand the process, the goals will come. You know, it's one of those. I mean, certainly the picture I've just painted is that maybe I should have done the other way around, right? The question though is, would we have got to that point if we'd trained to be clutch players rather than trained to be process players? And I don't know, but I'm hoping the answer is yeah, no. And I took the right approach, but I don't know. Good question. Thanks. Yes.
So, would you rather have played brilliantly in a semi but the team lost, or played shit in the final but the team won? Because you seem to be sort of there's a sort of a mix between the team and your personal goal. So
yeah,
you're
no, you're
criticising
right.
yourself harshly, but the team still won. It sounds like I'm not that familiar with frisbee. It sounds like still a team sport.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So it's a great question. Yeah, because the truth is a little bit of me is really concerned about my personal performance. I'd like to think that is because I want my team to succeed, and if I play badly, my team will lose. I'm certainly aware that when we went to the World Games, that was very much a scenario where with only there was only 7 guys on that team, rather than the 25, in the bigger squads. So when I made a mistake, that was a huge deal, and I would always rather the team win, always. But on a personal level, on a pride level, I want to play well for my team, and I'm sure that a lot of players in any sport want to be the player who makes the difference. I think that's a pretty normal sensation to be. Everyone wants to be the person who adds something to that team, rather than the player that detracts from it. So I'd love to think that I was focused on the team's goals, but you're right in that my talk kind of muddied that a little bit. Okay, thank you very much.